The White House has confirmed that the newly $100,000 fee for H-1B visa applicants, which takes effect on Sunday, September 21st, will not affect current visa holders in any way. Now, the White House has reiterated that they can continue to leave and re-enter the United States as they always have. Well, the one-time visa fee will only apply to new visa applicants. This is the clarification that's coming from the White House. Now, what's important to understand is that US President Donald Trump signed the proclamation in an effort to curb what his administration says is an overuse of the program, which of course is for skilled foreign workers. Important to understand that a clarification has come in from the White House, in which the White House has said that the new $100,000 visa fee is for H-1B applicants, for fresh applicants, and does not impact current visa holders in any manner. Further, the White House has also reiterated, saying that applicants can continue to come in and out of the United States as long as they have a visa, and that the one-time fee only applies to new visa applicants.
Shock and confusion over the immigration status of thousands of these H-1B visa holders, most of whom are, of course, Indian. Now, until now, it costs around $1,500 in administrative fees to apply for an H-1B visa. But now companies will have to pay $100,000 per employee each year that they are working under this visa. I've sought some clarification from the White House who say that this will only apply to new visa applications, not renewals or to current visa holders. And it will first apply during the upcoming visa lottery. So anyone who won their visa in this year's lottery in 2025, it won't apply to them. So those already with a visa will not have to pay this. Nonetheless, there is real concern among many of the companies who employ thousands of these visa holders, like Amazon, for example, who has written to their employees saying if they are H-1B visa holders, they need to remain in the US, even if they had upcoming planned travel. And if they're outside of the US right now, they should do their best to get back into the US before that Sunday deadline. And if they can't do that, then they should stay outside of the country until Amazon has worked out how to deal with this new immigration situation. And of course, it is the tech sector that is most affected by this. But it is another example of the way this Trump administration is cracking down on immigration in new ways. Kate Fisher, NDTV, Washington.
Well, joining me right now is Ms. Kripa Upadhyay from Seattle. She's an immigration attorney. Firstly, thank you so much, ma'am, for speaking to NDTV. Ma'am, I wish to understand from you, of course, there's been a clarification that's been issued by the White House. But of course, as soon as the proclamation was signed yesterday, it sent everyone into frenzy. There was clearly a lot of anxiety. So do you think that this new clarification coming in from the White House in any manner soothes the anxiety prevailing in thousands of such visa holders?
I think it calms fears immediately, but there are still a lot of unanswered questions and a lot of uncertainty, right? I've been on countless phone calls and emails since this broke yesterday. The immediate fear, obviously, was what happens to employees that may have left the United States for whatever reason. What happens to applications that are pending at consulates across the world? What happens to applications that were pending at USCIS? None of that was clarified in the executive order that the president signed. That clarification came in today, Saturday, at about 3 p.m. from Joseph Edlow, who is the director of USCIS. So I think it calms fears for the moment, but there are still likely going to be legal challenges, and a lot of things still need to be clarified as we go through this process.
Right, absolutely, ma'am. And ma'am, given the Trump administration, we had Howard Lutnick yesterday saying something else. Now the press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, has come out and she's said that this only applies to new visa applicants. So do you not think that there's also a sense of unreliability when it comes to the Trump administration, given the fact that, there is a tendency over there to be some amount of ambiguity there, and, people who have these visas will have to, navigate through murky territories to understand where exactly their application lies?
Oh, absolutely. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. It's complete amateur at the White House right now. Secretary Lutnick said something about this applies to renewals as soon as the executive order was signed. Karoline Leavitt is now on record as of an hour ago saying that this applies not even to new applications this year, 2025, right? So let's say you're a university or a hospital and you're cap exempt. What we understand as of this hour is that this fee no longer applies to that population, but it applies to cap exempt applications for next year, right? Which would be positioned starting October 1st, 2026. If that's the case, why was this executive order hurriedly signed on Friday? If we have a whole year before implementation. The next question that brings up is, if we do have a whole year before implementation, why was this an executive order and not according to the rules and regulations that allow for a notice and comment period under the APA, the Administrative Procedures Act? Which is why I think there are going to be lawsuits. There's a lot of clarification that needs to come through on this one.
Right, absolutely, ma'am. And you've mentioned certain very important points, and you've also talked about this could be a very hurried order that's been passed by the Trump administration. Of course, it's an executive order, which is why I wish to also understand you that it could easily be challenged in the court of law, right?
Correct. Again, immigration is one of the areas that is governed by the Administrative Procedures Act, or the APA. The APA has very clear and precise guidelines for what we call rulemaking, right? Chief among them is that the agency is required to provide a 90-day notice and comment period. They are required to propose the regulation, allow the general public and stakeholders to issue comments, either take those comments into consideration or not, but they at least have to go through that notice of rulemaking process. That was not done here. So I do think that this is ripe for challenge. I don't know when those challenges are going to be filed. I mean, as of yesterday, there were attorneys working on this to try to get that done over the weekend to try and protect the rights of employees. We're probably going to wait, I think, for more clarification before we start seeing lawsuits filed, but I absolutely expect for this to be challenged.
Right, and absolutely, ma'am, we don't want to be alarmist. We also want to understand that, if there is somebody, of course, you're an expert in this domain, which is why you will be the perfect person to answer this question. What are some of the legal remedies that, current visa holders have, which you would insist that they hold on to, or, some rights of theirs that they need to know about in order to navigate through such a tough time for them?
I think the key is for anybody that is in H-1B status, stay in contact with your HR. If your HR and if your management is advising you not to travel, and in full transparency, that is what I have told all of our clients as of this day, as of yesterday, and again reiterated today. Any employees for companies that I represent have been advised not to leave the United States at this time. I will say, as a first-generation immigrant myself, telling somebody not to go home and meet their family is horrifying. But we don't know what the next rule is going to be or what the next interpretation is going to be, right? Like I said, there's quite a discrepancy between what the executive order said on Friday, what Joseph Edlow and USCIS have clarified today, further clarifications from Karoline Leavitt, but we still don't know what Tom Homan and Immigration and Customs Enforcement intends to do at ports of entry and at the borders. So when I say we need clarification, we really need all of these agencies to be acting in concert with each other, because at the end of the day, these are not just, high-skilled employees. This goes directly towards a position of, can employers trust the US legal system to protect their personnel? And can they expect the US system to be a partner for them if they want to grow and establish companies in the US?
Right, absolutely,
that's a basic question.
Right, absolutely, ma'am. Several important points raised by you. In fact, you've also mentioned about how even companies have advised citizens from not going in and out of the United States. Of course, we know Microsoft and Meta have done so. Well, we hope that the questions that you've raised are answered soon. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing those details with us.